This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
It is overcast this morning here on Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, and I am in the area where Tingana was last night. So that's definitely what I'm going to follow up on this morning. Steve is out too. He's going to follow up and maybe look for Tavangumi. So it promises to be a spotty day today. So I hope that you're ready, everyone. I certainly am. So jump on board for your live safari through the African bush. Good morning, and welcome aboard, everyone. You're on my game drive vehicle. It is nice and overcast. You're not going to get burnt this morning, not going to get sunburnt, and we're here looking for Tingana. It's always a great idea to start off where you saw a cat last night, because then you can look for tracks, and you can be pretty sure that they were from last night or early this morning. Hi, everyone. It's me, Trishala. I've got Davi on camera with me, and we are roaming around in pretty much the central areas of Djuma this morning. We are on Weaver's Nest, Philemon's Cutline Junction. It's very likely that Tingana would have moved from this spot, but not too far. At least I don't think very far. So we're going to spend some time looking around here. Hopefully he'll pop out, or at least we'll get some clues as to where he is. Well, this is your live safari, so use that hashtag WildEarth, or you can use @FC at the YouTube chat stream. You can also go to our website, register, go to the live safari page, and use our questions and comments box. If you're under 18, please use kids' questions at wildearth.tv. We would love to hear from all of you, so send them through, everyone. I can hear Franklin. Can you? Calling in the drainage there, and this is quite a difficult system to get to and get through to have a good look, and he could very well be down the bottom there. And I made it down there yesterday, but it's quite a difficult thing to do. So we're going to just look around here for a little bit. Also, these Franklins calling, it sounds very much like upset Franklins who just kind of having a dispute in the morning. They tend to do that early evening and in the mornings. What kinds of disputes? I can't be sure. Whatever Franklin's dispute about. Seeds, I suppose. Well, it's 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit today. A little bit chilly, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to see the sunrise. But let's just tuck our nose down closer to the mound, because he could be out of sight. I mean, you saw how very bushy. It's very bushy. The grass is very long, so he could be sitting anywhere, and I wouldn't really be able to see him unless he lifted up his head. Vicky, you say hopefully this overcast, cool weather will bring all the animals out. I hope so too. Okay, this was Big Mr. T's spot. Right here, lying up so nicely. Yeah, it's going to take quite a mission to see where he's gone to. Hi, Benjamin. You'd like to know if those alarm calls are reliable? No, they're certainly not, but they can bring your attention to an area, especially if you already know there's a leopard in an area. Then it can bring your attention, focus you on one spot, but they're not reliable. Franklins often, like I said, they fight amongst themselves and use that same call, so not reliable. Definitely not. But at least I know that I was looking for leopard in this area, so it could have been helpful to me. It certainly is not, because down there I don't see anything. So let's back it out of here and see if they have any tracks on the road. Because this is quite into the block, this termite mound, that's where he was. Because it's quite into the block, he could have gone. That's a more reliable alarm call. We'll just have to drive around because he could have gone up and onto Ingwe Alley. He could have gone this way, he could have gone that way through the drainage, in which case we won't pick him up. Or he could have just gone out onto Weaver's Nest, which is what I'm hoping for, because that would be easy for tracking. But we're going to follow up. So let's back out of here. We're going to swing around and see if we can see anything from Ingwe Alley this time. And we're going to send you over to have a look at the weather at our different locations. Okay, it's pretty much cloudy, similar weather everywhere this morning, at least for now. We've just got Steve and I out here in Juma, and we've got Kim out in Pinda. So you're going to be spending a lot of time with us, which I quite like. I like when we get to spend substantial chunks of time together. Here. Okay, I'm just tucking my nose in here. This is about the area a little bit further west where the Franklins were alarming. Like we said, not reliable, but still good to have a look. So let me send you over to Kim and Pinda to say good morning while, further down there, while we check it out. Good morning and welcome to and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. As you can see, we have also got some nice overcast, cloudy, a little bit of a breezy weather. A little bit cool this morning, which is really fantastic for game viewing generally. So my naming is Kim, sorry. And behind the camera we have Johan. And we're going to be with you this morning. It's not my morning, everyone. Sorry, I haven't actually had some coffee yet, so you'll have to excuse me. It is stunning to be out so early, though. I always prefer morning drives to afternoon drives because I feel like the bush is just reset. You know, in the afternoon drive, sometimes we know more or less where the animals are. They don't tend to move around too much in the heat of the day. But in the morning, you know that all those nocturnal animals have been moving around, they've been scent marking their territories, they've been looking for their opportunities to hunt. And so we go out in the morning trying to find those last tracks and see if we can find them. Also, we're waking up with other animals like the birds. You can hear them all calling around. They're advertising their territory to other birds saying, listen, I've survived the night. This is still my tree. This is still my area. You can just slowly hear some of those birds in the distance. Ironically, nothing's calling around us right now.
And I think, even with this cool weather, animals and even birds are starting to wake up a little bit later. We're certainly seeing all that trend around here at Pinda. We managed to get really lucky the other day and actually see a pangolin at about 8 o'clock in the morning, which was very unique. So what we're looking at now, you can see that body of water in the distance. That's actually False Bay. It's part of the Isimangaliso wetland area. That's just on the outskirts of Pinda. It's one of our neighboring conservation sites. And actually you can see just in the distance there's some mountainous looking areas. Those are actually sand dunes from Tswalu Bay. So you can see we're really lucky to be very close to the coast here. In fact, in one of those rare areas you can actually go on safari in the morning and see lions and leopards and all of those things, and then in the afternoon be on the ocean looking at whales and dolphins. So it's quite a unique sort of landscape we've got going on here. I just want to sit and be quiet for a little bit and just listen to those birds. They're starting to call a little bit more now, slowly starting to wake up to the morning. So once we're hearing more commonly, we can hear kukui kui, which is the gorgeous bushwhack. Then we can hear the ring-necked dove. The old name was Cape Turtle. And you can actually hear why it was called Cape Turtle, because it sounds like it's saying Cape Turtle, Cape Turtle. This is also often a perfect time to stop and listen, because, with it being so cool, a lot of our predators are still actually going to be quite active at this time, still moving around. And one of the main ways to find them is often hearing alarm calls. So sometimes when you stop and listen, you might hear some monkeys calling in the distance or some nyala barking. Kudu also have a very prominent bark-like alarm call, so those are some of the things we're listening out for now. Oh, Grace, thank you for your comment. And I do agree. Pinda's landscape takes my breath away a lot of the time as well. In fact, I recently had some guests and it was wonderful. We were just talking about how the drive went and how they enjoyed it. And they were saying, Kim, it's just, you can't compare this landscape to other places. Everywhere you drive, there's mountains, then there's forests, and there's big open plains. And sometimes you drive around and maybe it's a quiet drive, you don't see much, but you still come back feeling a bit wowed. And it's just because your eyes are constantly busy taking in the beauty of the scenes around you. And there's always fantastic birds around. So that's another really special thing about being here. We've got quite a few near endemic or endemic birds to Maputo land that we get here. Look at that beautiful sky we're having this morning. You can see a little bit of the sun's poking through. So we are currently on the top of one of the hills in the southern end of our reserve. We've come back to the south, everyone, after having a lovely excursion north yesterday. And this is actually very close to two of our lodges, our mountain lodge and our rock lodge. So this is a scene that we often come across. Sean, I think you're right. It does look like a painting. You know, those classic ones with a little bit of blue and some light coming through, some lovely cloud cover. It's quite a picturesque scene. And it's nice to just sit here because we actually had some leopard activity around this area yesterday, which we were quite excited by because our leopards have been hiding very recently. And we actually think that 2 of our females have given birth to some cubs, so we are hoping that we're going to get some cubs on Pinda very soon. We are waited with bated breath every morning because eventually what's going to happen is one of those females is going to make a kill. And when her cubs are 3 months old, she's actually going to lead those cubs to the kill. So we're just waiting for the day when someone calls in female leopard tracks with cub tracks or with smaller tracks next to them. And then you can believe everyone is going to be incredibly excited by it. A lot of us have but spent our career following these females and seen their progression over the many, many years we've been here. And so even one of the females is quite exciting for me because she was a cub when... sorry. There's a little bit of hay fever going on here. She was a cub for me when I was just a young trainee here. And I've actually seen her grown up now, you know, become an exceptional hunter and she's even trying to take over her own territory at the moment. And now she might even have her own cubs. It looks that way. So the next phase, I suppose, to see is what kind of a mother she is, how she brings those cubs up, if she raises them successfully. All very exciting times for us here at Pinda. Now looking around, we've got some interesting trees and things that are just around this area. So I'm just going to point out a few of the ones that we have here and tell you a little bit about them. So this tree right here, you can see that these got some really nice spikes over on this side. And then they've got quite an interesting serrated shape to the leaf. You can see it's got a very sort of oval, but skew oval shape. It's quite characteristic to the species. And then it's got a serrated edge. So this belongs to the spikethorn family. This is a red spikethorn. And what we actually use the spikethorn for, you can see that the branches themselves, once you get away from all the leaves and those prominent spikes coming off, are quite long and pretty straight, actually. You know, and they've a bit of a supple bend to them, you know, a little bit of a movable sort of branch. So we actually often use this tree when we're making fire. You'll make a base out of something like a corkwood, which is a really nice soft sort of tree base, and then you even make the tip of the same wood that you make the base of, but then you need a long straight stick that you can spin your hands up and down. It's not going to hurt them, and that has that nice bendy motion, and that you'll attach that little tip to, and you rub that into the base wood. A little bit of sand, you cut out a little hole there with a bit of a breathing tube, and you keep doing this motion. And if you do it, if you get the technique right, some guys can make fire in 11 seconds. Some of us take quite a bit longer. But eventually what happens, you actually make this coal. And when you've made that coal, then you've got to quickly put that coal onto some burning material. So some dried out grass, we often use elephant dung actually. That's a really nice sort of material that will just flame really easily. And then that's when you start blowing on it and you can make fire that way. So this is a nice tree to know when you're out in the bush. Just trying to see our other important trees. I'm sure everyone knows the magic wari, but I'll just show this to you anyways. This is an encroaching species, so I'm not damaging very important plants. So what you do is with the magic wari, let me just clean it out a little bit. You can see, first of all, you can identify it by this very wavy leaf here. It's got that really nice sort of wavy motion on the side of the leaves. Very difficult to confuse it with any other species. I actually can't think of anyone that's got that pattern offhand. And this is known as the toothbrush tree. So as you break off a branch, you can see that it's got a very fibrous sort of inside parts. Now you'll have to strip it a little bit more, but you can see that nice fibrous sort of part up at the top. If you break it off a bit better, you'll actually be able to separate those fibers and use it to brush your teeth. And you often can mix that in with a little bit of ash from the fire, make a little paste from the ash from the fire, and that's your toothpaste. So these two trees here will give you everything you need to have clean teeth out in the bush. I'm sure everyone's seen the new trend to have charcoal in the toothpaste. There's a reason it does clean your teeth. So that's one of the nice properties of the magic wari. The other one, it is said to actually help you find water. So the scientific name is the Euclea divinorum. And divinorum obviously comes from divining. So essentially when you get a really nice teed off branch, then apparently people who have connections to spirits and things, they can hold that branch and it will point them in the direction. It will actually, if they hold it steady, it's going to go up and down whenever they're moving towards water. So it's supposed to help you find water. So that's another little trick. And then finally, it used to be a good luck symbol for hunters back in the day. So they are going to actually, they would break off a branch, very small branch, and take it with them when they were hunting, and that would give them good luck for the hunt. So those are some of the trees, and that's our landscape. And we're going to head off and see what else we can find this morning.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and Beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephant, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
I've got a bit of the sniffles, guys. I thought I had more time than I did. So we've checked around Ingwe Alley. There's lots of little pans in Ingwe Alley where he could have gone up to go have a drink. In fact, he's very likely to have had a drink there, but perhaps last night. They can't pick up on any tracks so far. So now I'm on Twin Dams Road where that drainage would have come out if he moved east in the drainage. No tracks here either. Let's just have a look at Chelepan. A little duiker was around the pan. Well, if the duiker was around the pan, it's unlikely that Tingana would be. Let's have a quick look here. It's so nice to see this pan retaining so much water. So great. Hi Neville, you'd like to know if most of the migratory birds have already migrated away? Yes, they have. They're all gone. I haven't seen any of them still around. And a couple of weeks ago, I did see them still around. In fact, last stint I did. Let's go down Twin Dams. Just checking out for tracks. Pretty much he could be anywhere now at the moment. So Neville, all the birds' migratory patterns are based on temperatures and resource availability. You know that ideal temperatures is also a resource. It seems like it's such an non-tangible thing, but it's what we call an abiotic factor. It's a factor that will affect the behavior of animals, but it's not something that's alive like the availability of food, but certainly it's still a resource. And the temperatures have cooled and the rains have subsided the side, so most of them would have gone off. In fact, all of them. I don't see any of the species that came through in the summer around anymore. I know that this is a little bit further, like quite far south for his movements, but remember he had the whole night to move if he wanted to. So let's try and cover as much ground as possible. I'm just thinking very hard. I'm thinking about what I'm feeling. That's a recipe for disaster. Hi Maggie, you'd like to know if the colder weather makes it harder to find animals? Not really. It's more difficult to find things like insects and reptiles. But mammals, it actually makes it easier to find them. But it's not the cold weather that does it. It's the fact that for us, our cold weather corresponds to our dry seasons. That means that the bush gets a little bit more sparse. It's not very, very lush. And that makes spotting these animals a lot easier. So our weather doesn't fluctuate in terms of temperature too badly. Like today when we started drive, what was it, 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit? For me, that's cold. I have extra long socks underneath my pants. But if you're looking at the actual average of temperatures, it's not a big change. It's not terribly cold. The coldest morning I've had out here is about 4 degrees Celsius, between 4 and 6. And that was when I just started that winter that came around after I started. That was cold, but since then, like last winter wasn't that cold. This winter doesn't seem too cold yet, but we're not into the thick of it. But even that 4, 6, 7 degree Celsius mornings are outliers. We're all, shaking in our boots, very, very cold, complaining about it. Oh, how we love to complain about the weather, especially when it's cold, because we get so used to this lovely, warm South African climate. Elephant Carcass or Twin Dams Road? Twin Dams.
Cool.
For us, and she's sitting in a perfect position. She's got it hoisted slightly close to us. Awesome. Oh, this is gonna be great. This is she could have had a better choice of marula, but this one will do the job. Mariebs is around as well. He is just moving along this round leaf teak. That's the big bushes that you'll see on the ground just now. But this is great. Hello, my girl. I always feel like I'm going to hold my breath when I see them shifting the carcass around in the tree, or when they're moving themselves. I was so hoping that she would hoist it while we were here, and it was perfect timing. Just wonderful. I think she's settled down now. Hopefully little Mariebs will come up and also enjoy some of the feast. If you think one leopard is a feast for your eyes, two is just crazy. Oh, Tandy, you're in such a great spot for us. There's not too much left of that carcass, but there's some good leg meat at the back that she and Mariebs can still enjoy. This is really something. It's awesome to see her put it. She's basically put it on the branch that's closest to us. I know all of you guys are loving it. Because we love Thandi. We've spent so much time with her, and she's such a great leopard. Such a great leopard. Look at her cleaning. Let's just absorb the sighting, enjoy it. It's just our first segment with her, and we'll be spending as much time as possible here. I'm just hoping that Mareebs comes along very quickly. I saw him kind of darting through the bushes, but he was not very interested in his mother's hoisting. Hi Pranav, you'd like to know how far hyenas can smell a kill? Surprisingly far. I would say about 2 to 3 kilometers. But I don't think it's just smell that works there, because it's also a sense of hearing that helps them, auditory cues. But they can hear a kill being made. As for the smell of the kill, like the actual smell of the kill, that's probably just about 1 kilometer that the actual smell would waft over to them. But I remember we followed Hart from the hyena den area all the way up to the Buffelshoek cut line. That's a good 3 kilometers or so. And she found it was because the wild dogs were on top there on the northern boundary. And she just beelined for that area. So they can tell from quite a while away, but they're not just looking out for smell. They're looking out for other auditory cues. Maybe impalas start alarming, maybe they hear Thandi sawing, things like that. But their ability is not just restricted to the distance at which they have this excellent sense of smell, but also the age of that smell. So they can pick up scents that are 2 or 3 days old and follow them.
It's a rather sad story, but interesting all the same. I found this in my bedroom, and it's completely solid now and of course no longer alive. This is a dead foam nest frog. But what is interesting is because it is dead, we're actually able to get a really, really good look at this individual. So Impo, I am going to move it a little bit, but I'll do my best not to, well, make it too tricky for you. So if you look at his head, you'll see that the eyes are extremely large. Now, when you look at any individual and you're trying to sort of figure out their umveld, shall we say, Jacob von Wexkull, probably pronounced that horribly, but a scientist that came up with this term umveld, you're trying to understand how they perceive their world. Each and every individual will perceive it differently. Even Umpo and I on the vehicle right now in the same place, on the same road, will perceive our surroundings slightly differently. So when you cross that between species, wow, it's a whole new ball game. So the eyes are large. I'm going to come back to that, although the eyes are no longer there. The eye sockets are large. And you can see the nostrils right here. Can you see that? So the eyes and the nostrils are positioned very, very high on the frog's head, if you like, and this is to accommodate vision and breathing above the surface when it's submerged, because amphibians, of course, have a 2-phase life cycle. They require water medium 100%. So just like hippos and crocodiles, it's all in the same plane, the nostrils and the eyes, to facilitate this when they are underwater. So although the eyes are fixed in their sockets, shall we say, they are able to bulge their eyes sometimes using specialized muscles on the inside to allow for better vision. And then when the eyes pop back down, this can also assist in swallowing. Imagine if humans did that. That would make dinner parties very, very interesting. And the eyes are large, so that tells you immediately that they do rely on their eyes in some way or another. And the pupils are also large in a frog. No, you can't see it. And this is basically to facilitate good night vision, because most frogs are nocturnal. And They do have sort of eyelids and a nictitating membrane. I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking about crocodiles, that will protect the eye. But immediately this tells you they have good vision. And then something you don't often get to see in frogs. Oh, poor little guy. Here, if you look at the pads, and Paul can get us nice and close, I think. If you look at the end of the fingers, they've got very, very enlarged circles. Some up here as well. I don't know which ones are the best to look at. And these are specialized adhesive pads. And this is what makes frogs such good climbers, how they are able to climb on vegetation and they are able to sort of climb up walls. One, they're agile, but two, it's these special pads. You can see they have a large surface area and they're also very adhesive. Now I'm going to turn this little guy around. And this is also something you don't really get to see. They are vertebrates, of course. And here, because it's lost all this moisture and it's dead, you can see the rib cage. Can you see that? The spinal cord and the rib cage of this individual. And you can see how the skeleton of a frog looks. And this is just sometimes what we are not able to see when it's alive and it's moving or it's submerged. Roman rhino. Yes, it is fascinating, although it's sad. And this is what happens. And the reason this frog was in my room was absolutely nothing to do with me. It obviously was seeking heat. It's too cold now. It's winter now. I'm going to turn him around. So he was obviously trying to seek shelter and heat in the room, and of course didn't make it because it is so cold. So it's just fascinating to look at frogs from a different angle and to see their sort of skeleton, really. I mean, there's about 130 different species of frogs in South Africa. And ecologically, frogs are a really vital part of the food chain. They play an important role. Essentially, they control pest insects. They eat mosquitoes, they eat all sorts of larvae, immediately controlling insects. Secondly, they themselves actually provide food to others. They're a great food source, especially during summer, for snakes, birds, especially water birds, like your hammerkop, your herons. So they allow sort of these other species to survive by being an excellent food source. Even mongoose, actually, even mammals. And the last sort of ecological role will be that because they are soft skinned, so it doesn't look very soft right now. I'm not sure if I'll be able to demonstrate with this little guy. Let me have a look. It looks very leathery. Maybe. Underneath them, I'm not sure if you're able to see these little bumps on the skin. It's a bit tricky to see, but at least he's not moving. That's holes, that's pores, because the skin is permeable. It's permeable to water and gases. So because they are soft skin and they're extremely sensitive to absorbing any ecological or environmental pollutant, frogs are actually vital at indicating ecosystem health. So a lot of scientists will regard the health of a particular habitat that they're looking at, whatever habitat that may be, by the level of frogs. The diversity and the population numbers will indicate the health of that ecosystem. And the disappearance of frogs, well, that immediately tells you that that habitat or that ecosystem is suffering, is under stress, and there's something wrong. It's obviously some sort of contaminant, be it gas or be it liquid, in a liquid form, in the chemical liquid form. Something is wrong. And that immediately you can tell that by looking at the frog populations and the frog diversity. They do molt their skin, frogs. They do molt their skin as they grow, naturally, but it's very, very, very sensitive. Isn't that just fascinating?
This in particular, but this is a good sign, because if these dogs come over now, there's going to be some action. So we're hoping that the dogs are not too far away, because at the moment their staple diet is warthog, especially now that the alpha female is a little bit less mobile, staying at the den site and taking care of the pups, only having 3 dogs, they won't be able to go for things like, well, let's say young kudus or young blue wildebeest or those types of things. So warthog is definitely going to be one of their focus species as far as prey is concerned. This is a relatively big male, as you can see. And also, as you can see, he knows that his eyes and ears has to be up and on high alert when he comes down to this particular waterhole. That's why he is upping and downing the whole time, making sure that everything is all right. And sometimes, you know, when they get this feeling that something's just not perfect, you'll find them turning around and walking away and coming to the waterhole maybe tomorrow morning or something like that. Rather go thirsty for one night than to come in and there's something like a leopard or a pack of wild dogs or something like that waiting for you. So not only with the warthogs, you know, the smaller the animal, the more wary they'll be. But you will find it with any prey species for that matter. The oryx would have done the same thing. With them being larger in numbers, like we've seen earlier, they would have been a little less worried or a little less concerned. But you see now that it seems like this guy has decided that the coast seems to be clear. Well, relatively. So he's now making his way down to the water. But very, very common to see this type of behavior when you're coming down from the water and for that matter, going away from it as well. You know, quite often things like lions will actually wait for the animals to go into the waterhole and then ambush them when they come back out again. So, very important for the herbivores to be on high alert when coming into or going out of drinking water.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, that's a dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam ops might disagree. My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
So, alrighty, guys, just a little bit. We are quite far west in Tswalu on the property at the moment, and it's amazing to see how the environment changes. When you travel for a considerable distance. When we are close to the mountain range and in the dunes, the sand is very red, and the vegetation is hard and more grassy. However, over here, when you go west for long enough, you get quite a bit of lime in the soil, and with that being the case, the sand color changes. The texture of the sand also changes slightly, not too much, but it does. But the vegetation is, I wouldn't say completely different. You still find the same types of trees and shrubs and so on, but the way the plants grow are quite different. So if you have a look at what we are looking at right now, you find these wide open areas and then what we call three-thorn thickets quite abundantly. And that's purely because of the different soil structure and pH that we have at over here at the moment. A little bit more alkaline. So then you'll find when you go out of these concrete is what we call it, spots, you'll then find more trees growing and those types of things. But as long as you're in the area where the lime concentration is relatively high, you get these open areas. Grass also not growing very tall, so different species of grass is growing, and then a lot of these what we call three-thorn shrubs. Also a bit of blackthorns, but not so much. I see there's a single oryx, probably a dominant male or so, coming in over it's not really a dune, but over the crest towards the waterhole now. We'll show you in a little bit. It's just the one. We're looking at a couple at the moment, so it's a little bit tit for tat. But yeah, I can feel the temperature. Lynn, so there will definitely be advantages as well as disadvantages. For the males, let's talk about disadvantages first. As far as straight horns is concerned, you can imagine there's nothing causing any resistance when the males fight with one another. So with that being the case, there's always a lot of injuries when there's two males fighting. There's nothing stopping those horns from pushing through and, puncturing the neck area or the chest area or around the shoulders or so, or even, eyes and face. But that doesn't quite often happen just because normally the heads are quite close to one another, so the tips of the horns are generally pointed more in the direction of the neck and chest and shoulder area. So quite often we find that if you find a male that's been around the block a couple of times, he will have scars of horns which punctured either his neck or shoulders or chest. You sometimes even find them when the horn breaks off, walking with a piece of horn in their shoulder or so. So that's one major disadvantage. The advantages of having the straight horns is your accuracy is a lot more, a lot higher. They've done, sometimes when we have to tranquilize the animals, if they need to do research on them or so, how they test to see if the animal is completely asleep so that you can approach it, is you actually throw a rock towards the animal. Not a big one, just, something small. And as long as they can still hit it away with their horns, you're not getting close to them. The accuracy and precision that they have with those straight horns, and also having longer, straighter horns, you have, more of a spear-like thing to defend yourself with. If I'm just thinking about oryx, if the pack of dogs is large enough, they'll definitely go for them. So if you are an oryx female with a young calf, and you've got nice, long, thin, straight horns that you can use as a spear, you can inflict some good damage on them. Also with a cheetah, same situation. So as far as protecting themselves is concerned, having that spear-like shape, it's definitely an advantage. But when it comes to the fighting between one another, when there's two sets of spears pointing in different directions, generally the guys tend to get hurt. So there's always ups and downs. I mean, if you think about a kudu, having those big spiraling horns, beautiful, I mean, stunning, probably the most beautiful horns in the bush. But so when they fight, they've got the advantage of not necessarily slipping past and poking each other against the neck and chest area, because there's a lot of curls and spirals and ridges and so on that stops them from doing that. However, if they maneuver themselves into just the wrong position where those spirals lock with one another, they'll most likely either end up having to break their horns, or both males will starve to death because they wouldn't be able to move away from one another. So there's always ups and downs to certain shapes and sizes and all of those things. It depends on how the particular individual uses it. Formalin, yes, their coats definitely gets thicker. As you can imagine, something like an oryx, it's a little large to duck into a burrow. We don't have aardvark that dig burrows that size. So with that being the case, they also don't have a jersey or a blanket that they can throw over them. So definitely the larger animals, well, animals in general, you know, all of the mammals around here will definitely get a thicker coat. Regardless whether it's a meerkat that can go down a burrow or a oryx that can't. They will definitely get thicker coats. The kudus is probably the one that you see it with the most when it comes to summer season again, you know, because then they shed that thicker coat and have a shorter one, but then you get them looking quite fluffy when they start shedding that long hair. But yes, to answer your question, most of the mammals around here will have a thicker coat during wintertime and a shorter coat during summer. Particularly important in this type of environment, just because it gets extremely cold during winter and severely hot during summer. So having the two different coats is going to be a big plus side to surviving. Yeah, guys, you can just now see on the screen there's one of those cattle egrets that we were talking about earlier. So he's now decided that the oryx are not kicking up enough insects, and he's trying to see if he can't find something there close to the water's edge. I think they might, you know, now it's still relatively warm enough for small frogs and so on to be around. So I think they'll definitely go for things like that. Just like the herons. They'll absolutely want to grab as much protein as they can. So when it comes to having a big meal like a frog, that would be very welcome from their side. But yeah, all in all, just a stunning setting. I love the waterholes here in the west.
Well, there's been a bit of a swapperoo now. Tandy's jumped off and Mareeps is now trying to position himself in a comfortable way at the carcass. It's just jumped onto the tree. Tandy has moved off in the opposite direction. They looked at each other as if they didn't know each other almost. But that was only after he pounced at her from the thick bush. He is so gorgeous. He's still a little smaller than Thandi when I saw them next to each other, but he's definitely picking up in size and surely weight. He still looks like he's wearing pajamas still. His skin is still loose. He needs to fatten up a little bit. See how he's smelling where his mother was sitting and smelling too? So like I said, with that carcass, there's just a little bit left, a bit of meat, and then things like the brain and eyes, though they're very nutritious, it can be difficult for a leopard to get through. And that's not the first thing they'll go for. So if by this time both of them are full, they would leave this carcass, but I still think there's a good leg left in there. Look at the way his tail was just draped over that one branch. That sound of a leopard hitting the ground from the tree, it's unmistakable. It's a sound that you'll be driving around and you'll hear that and you'll know exactly that was a leopard falling from a tree. Alright, they're now in some very thick bush. I'm going to have to follow them out. We're actually quite in the middle of this block, so it's going to take us a bit of effort to get out. He's following Thandi. That's also getting out of this block. But they look like they might be heading towards Buffelshoek Dam. So we might check out that side. Maybe they'll go have a drink. Or maybe they're just going to sit over under one of the bushes. Either way, we're going to need bit of time to get out. You can see there's lots and lots of this round leaf teak all around.
This was quite funny. We stopped with a young male. Oh, look at this. The two babies, they nearly look like twins. There are three of them here that are basically the same age, and they are just so playful with each other. They keep pushing each other around, pushing each other over, and they tackle one another. See them playing just behind these three big ones. Shame the other baby pushed over by one of the older youngsters there. They were just so happy. They literally sprinted into the river. And then some of the larger females started digging right away. And you'd find these babies, they just sprinted into the holes. Weren't even waiting for the other ones to drink. They literally just went head first into the hole. Look how happy that one is. So yeah, we initially stopped with a young male just drinking, and then we looked behind us and all these elephants kind of descending into the river, so we decided to come here rather. Very thirsty. And still, they don't need to even dig too deep. It looks like about 1/2 meter. Face planted. Now all three of them are just playing behind those three larger elephants. And Craig, what I might try to do, let me go forward a little bit. I just want to show you guys how they play. It's so cute to watch. Literally just pushing each other around, climbing on each other, pushing each other over, sitting on each other. There we go, sorry. Let's see if that's a little bit better. So much energy. Literally are just baby animals.
I mean, their nostrils must be just filled with sand. And their mouth. It doesn't look too comfortable. I mean, the front leg was below the entire body. That's hilarious. Of course, it's a bit of a struggle to get up, even for the little ones. They need momentum. So just swaying side to side. Also, I think the sand is quite cool for them, so even just rolling around must be cooling them down quite a bit. Oh, it's nearly up. No, cool down the other side. Oh. Annette is commenting, oh wow, what a lovely sighting. I'm with you, Annette, I agree. I'm glad we turned around and came towards these babies. They're absolutely hilarious to watch. Actually, any baby animal is just always so much fun. But it's like the one is just more playful than the others. Went and lie down again. But if there's more elephants coming down. Oh, Craig, look at that one. They're on the bank. It just passed out on the bank there. I think in a bit it might actually shuffle forward and try to get down here. Let's see. It's having its own fun. Love watching them come down. Often it's quite awkward, they'll be on their knees. A slow process. See, on its knees, just shuffling down. And there we go. Very proud of itself. And digging their own holes. Actually, I think there's a hole dug there already. Just see the trunk go straight in. Not really too sure what to do with the trunk just yet. So it's trying to mimic what the parents are doing, but instead of drinking water, it's literally just shuffling sand into their mouth. Very, very nice to see them drinking right in the riverbed, very close to tented camp. I think we'll leave them here.
And we have the whole family reunion. One lioness, just one lioness came out from the thicket, walked around from a different thicket, and then all the cubs came out to say hello. She's now going back into the thicket, but then that's the cubs all out in the open. So we've got 3 different groups of cubs here. There's 3 older ones that probably around about 9 months old now. Then there's 3 6-month-old ones, and then there's 4 about 4-month-old. So that makes 10 cubs total in one pride with 4 lionesses. So we're still waiting to see what the 4th lioness is going to bring out. There's lots of, you can just see by the face. We're unfortunately a little bit too far away. You're not hearing the audio, but there is lots of complaining going on there because those little cubs, assuming that they're waiting for their mother so that they can get a nice bit of milk. They're still suckling. Both the 2 younger sets of cubs are still suckling, although the 6-month-old ones are way old. They were suckling yesterday morning, so the lionesses are still providing milk for them. This is most likely the mother of the 4 youngest cubs. They're all watching. There seems to be, I can only hear, there's a partial sort of confrontation going on in the bushes.
which will probably be the older cubs, and that lioness that walked in there. Here she comes. So Jerome is asking, is this the dominant pride in Tswalu? So Tswalu's actually got two prides. There's a southern pride and a northern pride. So neither one is more dominant, but they certainly have more numbers in this particular pride. And the males visit between both prides. This seems to be this particular pride's almost northern boundary. They don't tend to extend further north, and then the other pride is not too far from where their southern boundary is. There is lots of complaining and moaning going on here. Yeah, there are a lot of cubs in this pride, and there's still potentially some more to come with the last lioness. So we'll see. They might... No, there we go. She's just decided to flop over. She's given up. The little cubs have begged and begged for their little milk. So they're in the stage where she's actually weaning them. So if she has enough, she'll actually lie on her belly and prevent them from getting to the teats. But now there's another lioness coming in. We'll see. This is interesting. See if she runs any interference. Now all the moaning and complaining has stopped because they're able to suckle. Evian is asking the question, when will the cubs stop suckling from their mom? So they start trying to wean them at around about 3 to 4 months. But as with the other cubs, they will supplement suckle them right up to at least 6 months. And then by then they've got pretty sharp teeth, and the lionesses are not very tolerant of that, and they do tend to push them away a bit more. But most animals will have the weaning time frame is almost roughly the same length of their gestation. So with lion cubs it's about 3.5 months, and that is when we start seeing them not necessarily giving the cubs too much. And you might find now she feeds them milk, and then late this afternoon, as soon as it starts getting dark, they actually leave all the cubs again and attempt to go hunting. That wasn't actually a lioness, it was one of the sub-adult cubs. So the oldest cubs are 3 males. The middle ones are two females and 1 male. And then the youngest 4, it looks like it's 2 males, 2 females. So there's quite a lot of males in this group that would then form a coalition when they get much older. A bit of play fighting. What a relief it must feel like for their large bodies to be nice and cool, and then also experience a sort of, or at least a little bit of weightlessness as they're in the water. The other one that was walking away is like, I thought this fight was over. Now you're having fun without me.
watching when their whole bodies are submerged. Look at that. They look like they're having the time of their lives. Daniel, you'd like to know if I think that elephants have the biggest personality. I'm definitely biased towards elephants. I love spending my time with them. And they do have a lot of personality. But I also think so do our leopards and our hyenas. But the reason there is that we can follow individuals quite closely. And this one's hitting its trunk to the back of its head. When following our hyenas and leopards closely, we get to know their personalities, as individuals. But when it comes to elephants, it's more difficult to do that because of the home ranges, the large home ranges that they roam. But just in one sighting with them, you don't know if it's the same individual or not. Just in one sighting with them, you get to know something about them. They communicate with me somehow. And with you guys, you'll see when you're with them in their presence, they're so aware of us that I really think that there's a lot more going on on an emotional level that we will ever really know. And I think they have buckets and buckets of personality. Now that looked like a lot of fun. And it's continuing.
Just look at that. It is absolutely incredible. And as far as I can see, that all falls within the reserve. So it is a vast landscape, but we are gifted with these incredible things, the wildcats, the aardvark, you name it. It just keeps on delivering. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here.
And when you think it could not get better, Mother Nature says, hold on tight.
Oh my word, that is gorgeous. We are cooking on gas this afternoon.
Have a look at what we've got. Look at how this is the best day of my gutting career so far.
We have a baby pangolin. We're just gonna go very quietly. There's your aardvark. And for those of you who've never seen one, this is one of the big safari specials on any reserve.
I'm just holding my cap because otherwise it's going to blow away, and with this storm coming towards us.
Absolutely beautiful to be able to see water flowing in this volume in the Kalahari. Oh, look at that. You can see the structural component of these flowers. It is perfect. Such a treat to be in and amongst these incredible insects. How lucky are we? You can see how close they are to the vehicle. Very curious.
Oh, you can do it! There we go. We made it over. But look at that view. That's absolutely stunning.
You can see how they're going into stalking mode. Okay, there we go. This one female is going to walk straight past the car now. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. I mean, do we just not have the best jobs in the world? That was epic.
We've live with one of my favorite birds.
Hello everyone, we are back and we are live. This time you would have seen that you were watching a repeat for a little bit, but we are back live, and that means that we would really love for you to send through your questions and your comments using that hashtag WildEarth at FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can go to our website, register, and use our questions and comments box. Just remember to do that because we're live again, everyone. We went down to Twin Dams Road. Remember, we were trying to follow up on Tingana. We went on Twin Dams Road, went to Weaver's Nest. Now we're on Western Quarantine to see if he's moved up this way. It seems, though, that he might have actually walked through the drainage or used the drainage to get to wherever he is, because I'm not seeing tracks for a leopard anyway. At least not in the areas that I expect to, and he can't have just flown out of there. He must have used some sort of path, and the only path I can think of where he wouldn't leave tracks is there in that drainage. But we're going to keep on looking. We might move a little bit further west if we're not successful here with Tingana, and see if we can follow up on Tabangumi, who was in that area last night. But for now, let me send you back over to the lovely Kim in Pinda while we go about here.
Thanks very much, TRISHALA. I hope you find your leopards there. As you can see, we have found some cats. We've got the 2 male cheetah from the southwest of our reserve. There's 2 orphan males that I'm sure have been absolute stars of the show. They're some of my favorite ones to find, and they are just being absolutely phenomenal this morning. You can see the closeness of their bond. Look at how that tail is literally resting on the other one. It's not even bothered by it. Now what they're doing, you can see they've climbed up onto this dead tree stump. And actually the one in the front is showing just how uncoordinated at climbing they are. They're not exactly the most agile of cats when it comes to climbing trees. But they just wanted to get a bit of a height advantage. Look at that landscape right out in front of them. You know, they're just trying to get a little bit of height to look over these big open plains. And what they're looking for generally at this time is something to hunt. Shame. You can see that one male is actually a little bit injured. Look at his elbow there. Now, to me, so there's like a big patch of skin that's taken off there. And to me, I think it looks very much like a branch or something as he was running, maybe just went up and scratched off a whole patch of skin. Like a big graze on his elbow there. Because if it was a fight with a lion or a leopard or something, you would generally see a few more wounds. You see some scratch marks along the side and maybe even another few puncture wounds. But we've actually seen him the other day. He still had this injury. We had a good look at him there and we didn't manage to see anything else. So I think possibly a graze from running past a stump that was just sticking out. Now, what always captures my interest with the animals at Pinda is they are just so good looking. I mean, look at that male. And they are going to carry off onto this open area. We're going to try and keep up with them because they are moving quite a bit today. You know, so what we're going to do is as they're walking through these open areas, if we spot anything that we think they might try and hunt, or if we start to see their behavior change, as if they're stalking something, that's when we're going to stop the vehicle. We're not going to interfere. But for right now, let's try and keep up with them. Hopefully we don't lose sight of them as this long grass Very exciting to have some hunting cheetah this morning. Some of our viewers have seen a cheetah hunt, but it is probably one of the most exciting things to see. And the reason being is just the speed that they actually managed to reach. So this road is going to loop around. We're actually going to try and get a little bit ahead of them because they are walking quite quickly. There is a vehicle that's going to be off-roading to keep up with them. I think let's us stay on the actual road itself for a little bit, gain a little bit of speed up ahead of them, a little bit of distance. And the reason it's so exciting to see these cheetah hunters, just that incredible speed that they managed to reach. You know, to see the main part of it, you actually want to be a little bit further ahead, closer to the animals that they're hunting, because they are so fast that they'll be next to your vehicle for 1 second, and then 3 seconds later, they're going to be a couple hundred meters right in front of you in these open plains. And they managed to get up to 100 kilometers an hour in 3 seconds. So massive acceleration, faster than this vehicle can accelerate for sure. And this whole time we're driving, we're looking for something that they might actually hunt. So what they're looking out for this morning is things like impala, little duiker, nyala possibly. You know, we don't get a lot of nyala in this area, but maybe in the thickets there might be some. But two males like that, they can actually even take down bigger prey than cheetah are usually capable of. I've seen two males take down a wildebeest before. They've taken down a big female kudu. You know, the problem is that it's a risk to them to hunt those things. You can see how they're quite fragile animals, so every time they hunt something that's a bit too big for them, they do risk injury. Oh, there's a black-bellied bustard. Okay, so I'm about this area. This is where I'm going to start off-roading from. Kathleen, I'm with you with that. You know, I don't have a favorite cat, I have to admit. Because every time I see cheetah, I'm like, oh, cheetah are just fantastic. And then I see leopard, and I'm like, leopard are amazing. And lion, when they are moving around and they've got cubs playing, it's also something really spectacular to watch. Actually lost sight of the vehicle. We've gone so far ahead. Station with the cheetah. What direction are they heading in now? Okay, so I made the wrong call there. I thought, oh, here they go, let's get ahead of them. It's always nice to be in a position where they move straight towards you. Yeah, go ahead.
But you ought to make your way, stay stationary now.
Copy. Yes, the other vehicle can hear us.
Stay in your position, sir. Making my way. Are you on airstrip? It's inside of airstrip.
Okay, so we're going to see if we can find these cheetah again. So, but in the meantime, we're going to send you over to TRISHALA and see what she's managed to find for you.
To find some spots of my own. I'm so glad that Kim's got this cheetah. Hope that she'll be able to catch up with them. We're actually moving east this time because there was a female leopard called in the east. I'm not sure who it is. They were trying to relocate her and then they found her briefly again, so hopefully she'll still be around. But we're going to at least get into that area to have a look ourselves. Let's have a look at this handsome fellow in the meantime. Oh, that is a beautiful, beautiful kudu right there. Stunning. Off he goes. Well, off we go too, because we want to get moving. We want to spend as much time as we can with this leopard. That far east, it could be Tandi or it could be Tlalamba. I'd be happy to see either one of them. I think this boy wants to come with us. Look how he bends his neck back, or his head, tilts his head back so that when he goes through the bushes, through the thickets, his horns don't get caught in anything. And that's really important behavior for kudu, because they prefer these open air, these bushy areas, not open areas. So they've got to get used to how to handle those big horns moving through. Oh, thank you very much, sir, for letting us through. I've been seeing some really beautiful males recently. Really nice, big, strong bulls. Hi, Nancy. You'd like to know if all animals alarm call? No, they don't. Just saw Nyala go past us. There's lots of antelope in this area. Oh no, look at this little... Oh, hello, little... Nancy, not all animals alarm call. It's mostly the antelope and birds, as well as monkeys, baboons, monkeys. They alarm call quite a bit. Hi, little one. Okay, I think we should just move on because this little one is trying to follow its mum, which is already crossed, and it's going to get nervous if we just stay here and look at it. So let's go past and give it an opportunity to cross. Even so, when I say antelope, I've never heard a duiker alarm call, a steenbok alarm call. But I've heard them distress call, but that means they've already been caught. Anyway, I'm on Central, which means that we should be arriving soon at our leopard, and I'm going to send you over to Pinda with their cheetah.
Welcome back to and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. So, sure you can see we've just got a little ear flicking on grass here. You can hear those birds going absolutely mad. And it is the cheetah that I've decided to lie down. Oh wait, here we go. One has actually managed to hear something. It's caused him to get up quite quickly. Not sure, no. He just decided that there was this little patch of shade, I think, more to the left. And he decided very quickly to go and lie there. Maybe he was concerned that his brother might steal that one little spot of shade. I'm going to try and drive a little bit more forward, see if we can get a better view of their face. Amazing, though, to see how quickly animals can disappear in this long grass. You know, there's big open landscapes. And you can be walking around and not even realize that there's two cheetah just lying right here out of sight. So I'm just going to drive a little bit forward. Can you see? So we've managed to find a little gap in the grass. Johan's going to show you now. So you see how the head is down. You can actually see that ears just poking out that side. He was busy grooming himself. You can imagine walking through this long grass. There's a good chance of them picking up some ticks and things. So they actually will use a very rough tongue to try and get those ticks off. What I'm so enjoying is how these birds are going mad at these cheetah. This is actually really stunning. There was an African stone chat that I saw a little bit earlier. They're just going mental. What's a good sign also is that he is grooming himself. You know, sometimes that does indicate that they're going to get up and move. I can see the other one is moving his ears around a little bit as well. Oh, and as I say that, he's decided to lay down. I think potentially what's happened is they've actually had a very, very active morning. And they've been moving around a lot. And they've been scanning these whole areas. And they would have maybe consumed quite a bit of energy. And as we saw earlier, you know, they had quite a nice vantage point. And it is big open landscape around here. So with the really amazing eyesight that cheetah have, they can see for about 5 kilometers. And they can see pretty well for 5 kilometers. So I think they've sort of given up for a little bit right now. You know, they've had a good scan around this area. There's nothing that's caught their attention in the immediate vicinity. And they've decided maybe it's time to just lie down, have a bit of a break here. What's nice is that they've also been smelling around. You know, they've been checking for any signs of predators as well. So I think they feel pretty safe. These big open areas here, and now they're very concealed, so something were to disturb them would literally have to accidentally come across them. It's very difficult. We can't even see it. We're right next to them. We can't even spot them from here. So I think they feel pretty safe. What? Sorry? Oh. I see those little birds that have been going mad at these cheetah. They've got those really pink up and they've blown off. Oh, and that cheetah's head is right up now. Samantha, thanks very much for your question. Johan, I think the one cheetah's head is up. There we go. Yes, so two cheetah can't go for a buffalo. It's far too big for them. You know, when we were looking at them, you could see that they had really slender limbs and very blunt sort of claws. You know, I'm sure most of you know that cheetah actually don't retract their claws into their feet when they walk. They leave them out, sort of like the studs on hockey boots or rugby boots. It helps to add some traction as they're running around these open areas. So they don't have much in the way of defense. You know, they don't have much muscle. Even their bones themselves are very lightweight. So if something were to attack them, they really can't defend themselves. So now, for that reason, they have to go for anything that uses its speed to get away. So something like a buffalo is not very fast. It actually will turn and rather defend itself with its big horns, which poses a big risk to things like cheetah. So buffalo is far too big for cheetah, unfortunately for them, because it would be a nice big chunk of meat. Even lions sometimes stay away from buffalo. You know, our lions on Pinda are quite spoilt. We've got a fair amount of plains game around. So they actually don't tend to go for things like buffalo unless they've got the males with them, and unless it's very much like a very easy opportunity for them to actually hunt at that point. The biggest thing I've seen 2 male cheetah take down was they've actually taken down a young giraffe before. Not these two. We had another 2 south male cheetah. We've recently changed them with Manyoni. We often do send our cheetah to other reserves, and we get cheetah in from other reserves, and it's because there's a very limited sort of gene pool when it comes to cheetah. They almost were at the brink of extinction many years ago. We've had to bring back the population from that small little gene pool. So as a result, we're still trying to create as much genetic variation as possible. And that's why we sent our male cheetah to Manyoni Game Reserve. But those cheetah were fantastic. I mean, I was talking about what they managed to kill one day. They actually took down a young giraffe. And it was quite sad for those 2 male cheetah because what an amazing kill. And, they were very lucky, I think, that the giraffe was too young to know to really try and kick them and defend itself. I think they managed to sort of just trip it and then pin it down and get on top of it and try and kill it. And that would have taken them a very long time to suffocate. Because they've got such small teeth, they often take about 20 minutes to suffocate something. And even after that, they sometimes haven't quite managed to clamp down enough on the windpipe. A little bit of air is being kept through, so the animal itself isn't properly dead. And you'll often see when cheetahs stop trying to suffocate the animal, they then will go around and have a good look around the area, checking for other predators that might have been attracted in while they were hunting to those alarm calls. And while they're looking around, a lot of the time you'll see whatever they've been trying to kill sort of revive itself and get up, and then they've got to start that whole process over again. But yeah, so this poor male cheetah ended up taking down this giraffe, only to be chased off of it by a pride of lion, which had been attracted in by the running of the giraffe, knowing something was chasing it. And of course, the cheetah can't defend against the lion because, again, they've got no muscle. They've got to use their speed to try and get away. So I think these cheetah have actually settled down for the afternoon. I don't think we're going to get much of a better view from this side. So let's go and see what else is around the area. But in the meantime, Steve is on dam camp. So maybe we'll get some animals coming down now that's getting a bit hotter to the water side.
Good morning and welcome to the Dam Cam, everybody, where it is a lovely overcast, cloudy morning. My name is Steve, and we went out this morning with some technical issues, so here we find ourselves inside in a lovely morning. We did try and follow up on some tracks of Tavangumi that we got just at the end of the show last night, but unfortunately we did not manage. But we are back now in the Dam Cam. Okay, well, let's see what we can find this morning on the dam cam. Well, it looks like Trish has had some luck.
Is this not the most beautiful scene? Kalahari in a dead leadwood. I have dreamed of seeing a leopard in a dead tree. Oh, absolutely beautiful. Oh wow, this is the stuff that dreams are made of. She's got herself a fresh impala kill. Hyenas were around the base of the tree, and now she's posing beautifully for us. What a pleasure. I'm so glad that we managed to get you to spend this time with our beautiful princess, Kalahari. Just take that in. Obviously there's the carcass to the right, so if you're sensitive, maybe just look away, but luckily it's obscured mostly by a russet bush willow. Thank goodness our Kalahari is not, though. I'm just so taken away by the beauty of the sighting. Oh, magnificent. The last 24 hours have been just, in fact, not even less than 24 hours have been so good with reacquainting ourselves with the Djuma royal family, as they're known, the Duke of Djuma, the princess. We'd love to see Thandi as well. This is a very fresh kill. There's not much that's eaten at all. It's disemboweled though. The hyena did run off with the stomach contents. Sharing is caring, isn't it? Good morning, Sir 50. Absolutely. She's stunning as usual, Sir 50 says. She really is. You can see she's still panting quite heavily. And that's because she was actually lying in the grass when we couldn't see her, but well, we saw her briefly. But where we had positioned to see the carcass and where we knew action would happen, we couldn't see her. And then the hyena came along and she just darted up and she was hissing at it. So now she's just calming down. Deep breaths. It'll take a little while before she'll start eating again. She just needs to catch her breath. She's so alert right now. She's picked up her ears, picked up her eyes. Another vehicle is joining the sighting. Oh, wow. This is just a treat. What a Cat-a-day treat. She's made this kill about an hour ago, I would say. Yeah, most definitely an hour, or at least an hour ago, possibly a little longer. But definitely from this morning. It's still sort of dripping. I've got such a soft spot for this girl. It's just great to have a leopard with a kill in a tree, like with Tingana yesterday, because it means it's the type of sighting we can we can rely on for the afternoon. I mean, if nothing goes wrong, if she doesn't drop the carcass or anything like that. Oh, look at that. I've so been wanting to see a leopard in a dead tree, and there we go. Even us out here, we also have things that we want to see that we've never seen before. And I'm glad that today I can tick one of those things off. I am kicking myself that I didn't bring my camera on board today, though, because it is just magnificent. Well, I'm going to sit here and just enjoy this. You'll be back with me soon. But until then, I'm going to sit and enjoy.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature. For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Just so stunning. I'm so glad that, I mean, obviously now she's in the dead leadwood. When we first arrived, she was not, and I was so hoping that she would get up in there, and she has, and luckily for us, we saw her mounted. Leopards have such agility, so much grace, so much strength when they climb up a tree. And when it's a dead tree like this, you can really see that strength. I'm not sure which hyena we have here, but it is particularly light. And the light ones, or the light one that I'm used to seeing is Tsaka. Is it Tsaka? I think you know Luca. Luca is very, very fair. But we'll have to check out the spot pattern in a bit. Lynn, you'd like to know if a hyena would try and run up a fallen tree for food? I mean, they definitely try. If there's one thing hyenas do well, it's try. Very, very hard. They'll try anything. Yeah, that looks like Luca. Hyenas will try very hard and they're good at it, but they don't hardly ever make it up the tree unless it's quite a flat tree. But let's just watch this. You're gonna see her hiss and snarl. They'll even jump from there. That was risky, because a hyena would never have been able to jump and grab that carcass. I guess he could have used the leverage of that tree there, but she took the risk to take the carcass further up. But hyenas will try. I've seen hyenas jump and just manage to catch like the legs of a carcass and then swing from it. Leopard on one end, hyena on the other end, dangling. Oh. Guys, this is what wildlife photographers' dreams are made of. It's what our dreams are made of. This is unbelievable. It's such a beautiful sighting. So I didn't manage to ID the other hyena, but one is definitely Luca. Luca is a clan male. Oh, they're slinking off. Hi Greg, you'd like to know how long I think these hyenas will wait. Well, they've walked off now. They walked off into the distance. It really depends. You see that she's moved her carcass further up now. So the likelihood of them getting something is reduced to just a little. But they're hoping that she'll drop parts of the carcass to shoot. They won't be far away at all. They might have wandered off now, but they won't be far away. Look at her face between the legs of that impala. Sometimes they can wait days, Craig. I've seen Ribbon and it was Sutu. They waited at Lalamba's kill there in Nomawati for like 2 days. They were there all the time, just sitting there. Even when the carcass was done, was gone, they were still sitting there. They slept there. Magnificent. I can't get over how stunning the sighting is. Clear background like that. No leaves to obstruct the view of her. Just the legs of the impala. Oh, can you tell? Out of words here. All I can tell you about is how beautiful this sighting is. Well, let me send you back over to Pinda and the cheetah and try and reposition to get us a better look at Lalamba.
Welcome back. So these cheetahs seem to have shrunken. No, I'm just kidding. We have actually found two different cheetah, if you can believe it. You can see how much smaller this one's face is and how incredibly fluffy it is behind that neck there. So this is a young female. And she's one of two. And they actually have the most amazing story. And whenever I see them, I'm just so overwhelmed by how well they've managed to do against all the odds. You know, I can't remember who it was. One of our viewers said earlier that cheetah were the favorite of the big cats. And, you know, I think a lot of what's that about? So you can hear those monkeys going mad in the distance. There's actually an impala not far from here that is a little bit confused about what's going on. It can hear the monkey's alarm calling and it's looking around. These cheetah are quite well hidden though in the long grass, so I don't think it will see them. But yeah, a lot to do with why it's such a special big cat is that they really do have the odds stacked against them. And, you know, these two young cubs really have had the most amazing story. They were orphaned at about 4 months old. And cheetah become independent about 17 to 18 months. And they're probably the most dependent cats on their mothers out of all the big cats. Because they've got a lot to learn. It's not only hunting skills, but it's survival skills. It's, you know, things that they need to learn to be really aware of other predators around, like keeping their back to the wind when they're lying down, or scanning areas before they walk into them, or constantly being alert, as you can see this one is. Picked up her head and she's looking around her. She's moving her ears, taking in all the sights and sounds around her. And behavior like this is so amazing to see, especially as we've seen the progression of these young ones. So they were orphaned at 4 months, and we actually kept them in our Boma area, which is an enclosed area on the reserve. And we tried to teach them to hunt on a pulley system. And then we released them around November last year. And that's when we had the height of impala lambing season. I'm sure many of our viewers know the story of those other 2 males we were with earlier, who were orphaned also when they were very young, but they were about 8 months. And they managed to survive because they were orphaned around impala lambing season, so they could hunt those very young impala lambs. So we used that as the key to survival. So we then released these ones around November last year. And now they are, you know, from November to May, I mean, that's what, 6-7 months that they've been on their own. They were originally 5. We unfortunately lost 2 during this time. One, I think, broke its leg from trying to hunt wildebeest. The other one, we're not too sure, possibly a leopard or a lion interaction. And then the third one came down with a feline disease. He is still alive. We are busy trying to bond him with another male in our Boma area because they do much better in coalitions. And they are actually potentially going to go to India to try and help the cheetah population in India. But these 2 females have managed to survive and are doing so well. And, oh, look, she is just so beautiful. And I think it is absolutely extraordinary. Just looking at her behavior and how far they've come. They've taught themselves these skills. You know, when we first released them, we found them all fast asleep, not picking their heads up, not looking around, not acting like wild cheetah at all. And she's learned from, I'm sure, many interactions around those 6 months that they've been, you know, completely on their own, dependent only on their own survival skills. They've learned to really have to take in the surroundings and be very, very alert for any other predators. Matthew, who's 13 years old, has asked us an amazing question. He's asking why cheetahs have rough tongues. And actually all predators have rough tongues. Now there's a few reasons, but the main is actually when they are feeding on a carcass, they want to try and lick off some of that fur. It helps them get right down to the meaty side and get rid of all that fur and things that's in the way. So they are so rough that they can actually lick off the fur of their prey. And also helps them get rid of ticks and things on their on their skin. You can imagine those ticks have quite a hold, so they've got a nice rough tongue to help them groom themselves and each other really, really nicely. But thanks for that question, Matthew. So also what I'm hoping that we are seeing now, our normal cheetah behavior after they've eaten, is to go out into an open area and to just keep in that open area so that they are very, very alert of other predators and they can digest and catch their breath, you know, in an area where they feel safe. There's no reason for them to move around too much, because every time they move around, they have the chance of interacting with another predator, or you know, even just hurting their ankle on like a uneven surface. They've got to be very, very wary of injuries, these cheetah. So when we had a glimpse when they were just standing up, they didn't look hungry to me. I haven't had a good look since. It's very difficult to tell from these angles. You know, you can see that chest there that's rising up and down of this cheetah. Now, that is not the stomach. That is the lung cavity. You can see that it's got very large rib cage, massive rib cage, because they've got these massive lungs, you know, so that they can get enough oxygen in when they're running. So really what you've got to look for is just by the back hip. Often if it's concave there, which I can't see, doesn't look like it is now. I think they have fed recently, these cheetah. No, they don't look too hungry to me. Like I say, I mean, we'll get a better idea when they stand up. But I'm hoping that they have fed recently and that they are now learning to go out into the open areas. Because these two used to be so unpredictable that after feeding, they'd go into thickets, or they would hunt in thickets. And they would sit on carcasses overnight, which is also completely uncharacteristic. Normally cheetah abandon their carcasses the second it starts to get dark, because obviously that's a unwanted attention of other predators that have really, really good senses of smell. So if a hyena smells that carcass, it will be drawn towards it, and that'll put them in a dangerous situation. So slowly but surely they're learning all these survival techniques. Rexy's 11, thank you for your question. That is a good question, and it's not easy with cheetah. It really isn't. You know, the way we can tell is a bit of size difference. Males are a bit bigger than females. So if there were to be a male in this group, you'd see he was slightly bigger. Obviously, when you're just seeing these two, it's very difficult to tell because you've got nothing to compare it to. And if you don't know their age exactly, it will be a bit difficult. So we'll have to look between the legs at this age. We've got to just look for those little balls or lack thereof. And luckily we know these two cheetah very well, so we do know that they are female. The other way is also when they reach a certain age, Rex, is to look at the dynamics of the group. So now we've got two cheetah together, and for females that's very rare. The reason they are together is because they are still young. You know, when they start going into estrus, so when they get to about 2 years, they're going to actually be driven to separate from each other and to find a male. Not that they'll actually probably mate at that age. It'll probably take them a little bit longer, maybe closer to 3 years. But they'll be driven to separate at that stage. So any cheetahs that are looking a little bit older in a group of two, it's definitely a set of males, because males will stick with other males in coalitions. You know, if they're born in a group and they grow up with a brother, they will stay together for life in their coalition. They also can accept other males into their coalitions. So if they come across a young male out in the wild, if he's submissive and they decide that they could use another member in their coalition, they can accept him. It's very, very rare for this to occur in the wild, however. We often, just as I was explaining earlier, we do that in the boma of the reserve. We actually forcibly bond unrelated males because we know they do so much better in coalitions. So you just look at the dynamics. If they're in groups, probably males. If it's a single, then it could be a male or a female. And if it's a older cheetah with some younger ones, with some cubs, then definitely a female, because the male does not participate in the bringing up of the cubs. So I think we'll stick with these cheetah a little bit longer. I'd like to see what they get up to, and I'd always enjoy spending time with these two, because they do disappear on the reserve for a few days at a time. But in the meantime, we're going to send you back to Steve and see if anything's coming down to drink at the dam.
Well, good morning. Indeed, it is a lovely cat day with cheetahs and leopards abounding. And here on the dam cam, we have got a little family of waterbuck that have been moving around and decided it's time to lie down. One of the youngsters was just trying to suckle before, and the adult female was not very happy with it and ran off. It might be because it's a bit too windy, but I don't know. Waterbuck can always be found very close to the water. And two little calves on the left there have done very well so far to evade being caught. The wild dogs hunted last week Monday, or this Monday past, and the two female waterbuck were here, but their calves were obviously lying up somewhere hidden in the long grass, a term known as laying up, where they do hide their youngsters for a period of time. Helen, they're very pretty, aren't they? The ring on the backside, the grey fur. They are a very interesting animal. Go up to the Mara, you get the Dufassa as well as the common waterbuck, and there the ring is a solid ring. Whereas here it's a ring with the grey inside. Dufassa up there, it's got a completely white circle on the bottom. Ruminants, they will spend a fair amount of the day after feeding sitting down like this. They're probably a little bit sheltered from the wind where they are, but the wind is pretty busy out there. Had some impalas on the dam camp just now that just ran away. They were not happy with the wind. It is predators' delight when the wind is blowing. Chris, I think having a look at the image, it's pretty obvious that the male definitely have horns and the female does not. The youngsters start growing them quite early on. That sets them apart quite easily, male and female. I've never seen a waterbuck with two broken horns. I've seen them with damaged horns, but never with both completely missing. Males use them for fighting. Females do not need them for fighting or for defense. Their strategy is to run and to hide their youngsters. I've seen waterbuck females get quite defensive of their calves and actually stomp. Use their feet to kick. But right now, they are just taking it very easy.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
She's moved the carcass back to the original position now, and she is feasting. We can see that it's a young impala male, a young ram. I've actually seen her take a couple of impalas this age. We can see that his horns are starting to just have that pencil-like look, almost like a steenbok. I've seen her eat one of those horns before. And when she's hungry, she's hungry. She's really eating away now. I don't know if you can have a look at the top. If you don't like blood and that kind of thing, you can look away now. But towards the left, yep, up there on that leadwood, you can actually see where she laid down the carcass. The blood there. That may seem gross to a lot of people, but in fact, imagine how much of that this leadwood has seen over its hundreds of years of existence. Leadwoods can stand for 100 years even after it's dead. So how much blood of the animals around you has it seen? That's an interesting thought. It puts it all into perspective. It's not just now. Talamba is adding to the history of this area. This is another sighting for the history books. I certainly will never forget this sighting. Sometimes it's not just about the action or the fact that you're seeing something that is rare, but also it's just about the beauty of a sighting. Something can be so beautiful, and it doesn't know it. All she is doing is being natural. And it really is a pleasure and a gift as a human to be able to find beauty in these things, to be able to find pleasure in seeing beautiful sights. And this is one of those for me. I feel like the coat of the leopard just stands out with such magnificence against this bark of this leadwood. It's actually the inner bark that we're seeing. Some youngsters are enjoying the sighting too, it seems. Kalamba doesn't care too much. She's very interested in the meal that she's got. You might be able, there we go, to hear her crunch down as she gets through bits of the animal. So it's not just bone that would create that sound, also ligaments, tendons, things that are quite tight in an animal's body would also make those sounds as she goes about eating them. But most of the sound won't be too intense now. She's still got a lot of meat. As the meat gets consumed and there's more, fat and cartilage and bone left, you'll hear her really making use of that jaw and those carnassials of hers. John, you'd like to know how long will this carcass last her? It'll probably last her about 2 days, so we are likely to find her here tomorrow morning as well. That's if nothing happens to it. As in she doesn't drop it or it gets stolen by another leopard or even lions. Then we could look forward to seeing her here tomorrow morning too. Tonight she most definitely will be here. But by tomorrow, if she's fed continuously, there won't be much left of the carcass. Tomorrow evening, she could still be here, but it's more likely that she would leave, and most of the carcass would have been eaten. But we're lucky in that it was found when it was quite fresh, so we're basically going to get as much as we can out of the sighting the next few days. An impala this size, probably about 30 kgs, not a full-grown male, not nearly. Maybe the weight of a slightly less than a female, full-grown female. Full-grown female about 40 kgs. So it's probably about 20 kgs of meat that she'll get out of here, which is a lot. If things were really bad and she couldn't hunt for the next week, she would be fine or she would survive on the 20 kgs she would have eaten from this carcass. She would not be happy about it, especially not in this area where leopards are abundant and there are lots of prey species. She'd be quite distressed about the fact that she hadn't eaten for a week, but she would survive after eating 20 kgs of meat. After that, she's going to start to deteriorate if she doesn't get anything. But Kalamba is such a formidable huntress. She eats very well, like many of the leopards in the Sabi Sands, and that's why I said the prey densities are high. They've got good cover in this area. All great things for a leopard. Malcolm, you say the colors on that leadwood are magical, right? I know, it's like a feast for your eyes. It's such a feast. It's like I feel like I don't know what to do with my body. That sounds weird, but there's so much happening. It's so magical. Like you said, Malcolm. It's something we don't see very often. Those striking patterns and colors against the bareness of a dead tree. I also love the color of those russet bush willow pods against the tree and her. It's just all working for me. It looks like a piece of art right here. In fact, it might inspire me, I think. Hi, Siobhan. That is an excellent question. You'd like to know if there are any birds of prey that will try and snatch a snack from a carcass. Certainly, when the leopard is around, they won't do it. But say she just made the kill, put it in a tree, and then she lies down close by, which they often do because they're just trying to recuperate before they start eating. Then tawny eagles, a big one. Tawny eagles, battalias, apart from vultures. Vultures will come too, but not as much if it's a small kill like this. But a small kill like this, you can, tawny eagles you might see. You might see battalias. Is there anybody else that you're likely to see? Tawny is always a good indication. The other eagles, you don't see them too much. You don't associate them too much with scavenging off a carcass in a tree. But there were a couple times I found a kill by seeing tawny eagles in a tree close to the ground, and a battalia as well. Even at lion hunts, after lion hunts, and you get a big carcass, you can find tawnies and battalias there too, as well as hooded vultures. Hooded vultures will come through, lappet-faced vultures, and then our whiteback vultures. Once you see those guys all congregating together, you know there is a feast that is on its way, if not already ensuing. Because that lot doesn't come together for nothing. The hyenas have left for now, so she can be quite comfortable in where and how she wants to feed, and she also might be a little bit... She can be forgiven if she drops it. She'll be able to get down, jump down and grab it before anyone comes along. Hello, I love South Africa. I love South Africa too. You'd like to know where in Djuma is Tlalamba with her kill? She's on just off Central Road, Central Junction, Drakensberg. It's quite east. It's an area where I expect to see Thandi sometimes, but Thandi is more in Torchwood. But it's not an unexpected place to be. It's an unexpected place for Tlalamba to be. And it's not too far from the road either. Oh, girl, where are you going? Onto a russet bush willow. Definitely not as sturdy as a leadwood. Can do a bit of a jump for us, maybe? Show us some of your acrobatics, you beauty. Oh, oh, oh. Oh my goodness, it's just so beautiful. Alright, we're gonna move just a little bit because we're alone here at the moment, so we're gonna move to get us the best view. This sighting is all about the visuals right here, because the thing is, we've seen leopards with a kill in a tree, right? But this is extreme visuals. Leopard in a tree, like Megazord version, if ever you watched Power Rangers as a child. Yeah? Cool. Hello, you gorgeous girl. Aren't you just a beaut? I know this may sound strange, but Tlalamba, I feel like she is so stunning. And she doesn't know it. You know that kind of vibe? She seems humble to me. African grey hornbills calling slightly in the distance. That light whistle. In fact, they've landed in the knob-down behind her. Oh, what a sighting. She seems so relaxed, so content, as she should be with her prize this morning. Now, when I arrived at this sighting, or rather when it was called in, it sounded as if she had another kill and it was stolen, and then they followed her to this dead leadwood where she had another kill. It's not unlike Tlalamba. It's not unlike leopards to have several kills in trees close by, because they're opportunists. They'll take an animal if they can, and that's because they have, I guess, the stomach, not in stomach acid sense, but they're able to stomach quite rancid meat. It's not because they have crazy stomach acid strength. It's just a preference that they don't have. They don't really have a preference for fresh meat. Or rather, meat being off doesn't really stop them. So they can afford to have multiple kills in trees, maybe even the same tree. And once one is done, eat the other. It's just, hedging their kills. And I've seen her do it plenty of times. But she didn't drop the previous kill and then walk in and kill this impala. It was already in the tree. So she already knew she had a second kill to go to if things didn't go as planned with her first kill. It's often called a pantry of kills that leopards will keep. Look at that tail, the way it's just kind of fidgeting slightly. Nothing too serious, just like a baby's foot. Oh, just swinging. Hi Sharita, you'd like to know if I've ever seen a leopard fall out of a tree while it's eating. I haven't. I mean, they're very good at keeping stable in a tree. I mean, their whole survival revolves around having good skill associated with climbing trees and staying on a tree and maneuvering a carcass while you're in a tree. But I haven't seen one fall out of a tree with the carcass. Actually, I've seen, I don't know if this counts, but I've seen Hosanna almost fall out of a tree with his carcass, but then he was dangling off the end of the carcass, so he was still hanging on by the carcass. And then eventually he just jumped down and he climbed up the tree again. But I've never seen one just kind of flat out fall out of the tree. Have you, Darby? I've seen them rush sometimes, you know, like hurry when they get a little nervous. There's hyenas around and misstep. I've seen them do that. Hi, girl. Hi. I may be biased, but I think that Kalamba is particularly poised when it comes to these things. Actually, I know that's 100% biased because I've seen her slip up, and the thing is, I've never seen Thandi in a tree doing a little jig. Often when they lose balance a little bit, it looks like they're doing a little dance. You can see it in their face, that kind of, whoop. Looks like we may have another vehicle joining us. Lovely. Let me just guide this vehicle in and let me send you over to Steve on the dam cam. I'm sure you'll be back in a bit.
Welcome back to very windy Djuma. Our waterbuck have decided it's a very nice spot to just hang out in the open. Watch the world go by as they ruminate over the meal. Now, hell in the little loose groups. The male sort of looks after his own area. You might get batch of groups of males hanging out together, but then you often find a few females with their babies. The babies aren't always visible because they're hiding, but then when they are old enough, they hang out in small groups. Whether you call them families or not is hard to say. They don't have really much of an association in that regard. You just call them little breeding herds. And the male will move between breeding herds, occupying specific areas that the females will move through. Access to water and good feeding. See, the youngsters are not ruminating as they're still suckling. The adults are chewing the grass that they fed upon, maximize its digestive capacity. Chewing a little bit, the little one in the middle. Started on a small grassy diet. Still reliant on mum's milk. So that is definitely elephant damage. Elephant tusks are ripping at the bark of the tree, looking for the medicine, the nutrients. And I'm not 100% sure, but I reckon this tree is probably on its way out. But it's had damage before. You can see the bottom of it was damaged quite badly before, and then it healed up, and now it's been stripped once again. Looks like a knobthorn. Slowly but surely it will be reclaimed by the environment, but not before it's provided lots of nesting and breeding habitat for many organisms. Overall, there's a few animals that hide their young. Impala do, but they breed in groups. They have little nurseries. But waterbuck hide their young quite close to water. Many of our other, what we regard as rare and endangered antelope, will also hide their young, but normally far away from water. Sable, roan, tsessebe, eland, and then cover great distances to go and drink and then come back. But unfortunately, those habitats don't really exist too much anymore because of the increased placement of water points. But the waterbuck, being very close to water, has evolved that strategy of hiding their youngsters close to water, and it seems to work for them. But the more rare and endangered animals will hide the youngsters and come back to find that the predators, unfortunately, have found them. So it's not a unique strategy. Gazelle will hide, youngsters will hide in the grass, Steenbok youngsters will hide as well, but very, very camouflaged, very, very well concealed.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catchers on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at And Beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through And Beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back. So we decided to leave those beautiful female cheetah. We thought they were most likely going to stay in the open area. As you can see, it's quite a windy day. So I think they've decided to stay safe out in the open. Just keep an eye out for anything coming along. We've come across a beautiful female giraffe. As you can see, she's busy just feeding. Well, she's actually ruminating. If you watch carefully, you might see that ball of cud go down the throat. As you can see, she's paused. There it goes back up. And now she's chewing again. So as it gets to the more hot part of the day, giraffes will actually regurgitate the food that they had eaten a little bit earlier. And they regurgitate it into their mouth in small little balls. They re-chew it, add more acid to it, and break it down into even finer powders. And it goes through 4 different stomachs in their digestive system. And eventually comes out in those little pellets. I'm sure you've seen giraffe dung. They're small little pellets for such a big animal. And it's because they chew each individual mouthful the exact same way. So they digest it in those small little balls. And it is a very, very effective digestive system. As you can imagine, being chewed to such a fine powder really gets all the nutrients out of that food. Much more effective than what you can see with rhino, or elephant, or zebra. They've got a hindgut fermentation system, so when you check their dung, there's actually large pieces of bark and leaves and twigs and things that are left behind that are completely undigested. In fact, they only get about 40% of their nutrients from their food. So we are going to carry on. We're going to leave this female to carry on ruminating. And we're going to see what else we can find along the way. But in the meantime, TRISHALA still has her leopard in a tree. So I think let's see what that leopard's up to.
and as stunning is she. Absolutely beautiful. Well, I'm so happy that we managed to spend this time with her, despite having a few glitches through the middle of the show. We came out just in time to find our girl. That makes me very happy. And that means this afternoon we can expect that she'd be around this area too. I'm so captivated by the beauty of this whole scene. The arms of the tree, the different arms, different things. We've got the leopard on one arm, we've got the kill on the other. It's just really, for me, one of the most visually appealing sightings I've had in a long time. It reminds me of another sighting that had this effect on me, and it was Kuchava and her son Tsemba, when we had a beautiful, beautiful sighting with them. And it's the same thing. They had a kill. They were just leopards in a tree. But just something about the composition of that sighting was magnificent. And I feel the same with this one. And I'm so glad that I was able to share it with all of you. That makes the live safari, that's the special part of a live safari. That we can all be watching this at the same time. And we can know that this is happening right here in Africa, right now, and we're here together. But it is that time. We're going to leave our beautiful girl now and say goodbye to all of you as well. Thank you, of course, for watching. Thank you for your patience with our technical difficulties, for your questions and your comments. We'll see you tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but this afternoon for Sunset Safari. Bye-bye for now.